They deprive him of his job, making his life miserable.
I have full custody.
It's not happening. I'm getting a lawyer.
But then this genius came up with a plan that shocked all. Welcome back to Paramount Recaps. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. Meet Jimmy Logan, a former football star and a dedicated dad who's all about singing Country Roads by John Denver with his daughter, Sadie. Once a rising athlete, Jimmy's dreams were dashed by a foot injury, and now he's stuck patching sinkholes for a living. His phone's constantly getting disconnected because he can't pay the bills. But he refuses help, even from his ex-wife. Sadie, who's sharp and talented, is prepping for a beauty pageant, and despite his best efforts, Jimmy loses his job due to his limp. His boss breaks the news with a "Sorry, Jimmy, you're out." Determined to be a good dad, Jimmy heads to his sister Millie's salon to pick up Sadie for dance practice, only to realize he's got the wrong day. Embarrassed, he swings by his ex-wife Bobby Joe's place. She's now living in a big house with her rich new husband and their twin boys. Jimmy sees a for sale sign out front and asks about it. Turns out, Bobby Joe and her family are moving out of state for her husband's job, and Jimmy's not thrilled about his daughter being far away. He knows he needs cash, either to fight for custody or to move closer to Sadie. Jimmy's got a brother, Clyde, a war vet who lost an arm just before making it home from Iraq. Clyde now runs a bar in town. While they're arguing one day, Max, a NASCAR team owner, strolls in with his friends. Max, always chasing likes and followers, makes a nasty comment about Clyde's missing arm, which triggers Jimmy.
The kindness of a one-armed bartender.
A brawl breaks out, and while Jimmy's swinging punches, Clyde sets Max's car on fire outside. These brothers may fight, but they always have each other's backs. Before walking away, Jimmy says cauliflower, their secret code word. The next morning, Jimmy makes Clyde's favorite breakfast, and they talk about the cauliflower code from the night before. Last time they used it, Clyde ended up in jail for 6 months. Jimmy reveals he's got a plan, a big one. While working on the sinkholes, he figured out the money transport system NASCAR uses during races. His idea? Rob the biggest race in the US using the PTT tunnels, which move cash to a vault. They'll need to blow it open, and there's only one guy for that, Joe Bang. Joe's an expert at cracking vaults, but he's currently in prison. When Jimmy and Clyde visit, Joe's intrigued but hesitant since he's already behind bars and has money stashed for when he gets out. But surprise! Joe's idiot brother told his wife about the stash, and she took off with it. Joe agrees to help, but only if his brothers Fish and Sam are part of the deal. The Logan brothers meet up with Joe's brothers at the Easter Fair to share the basics of the plan. Fish and Sam are in, and they grab a mysterious package from a spot called the Bear in the Woods. To make sure Joe can break out of prison and sneak back in without getting caught, Clyde crashes his car into a gas station shop, landing himself in jail. The judge, seeing Clyde's service record, only gives him 90 days, which fits their timeline perfect. While Joe and Clyde sort out the logistics, Jimmy continues to be a dedicated dad, helping Sadie prep for her pageant, including assisting with her self-tan. Jimmy runs into Sylvia, a healthcare worker and an old classmate, who offers him a tetanus shot for a nasty cut on his face. Knowing he can't afford it, Sylvia reassures him the clinic runs on donations, so he's off the hook. Meanwhile, Jimmy's sister Millie is working hard on the heist, making sure every detail is perfect. With her knowledge of cars, she helps Clyde figure out the dimensions for exhaust covers they'll need a prison truck. Mill worries about the risks and asks Jimmy if he's got a backup plan in case things go south. Jimmy, confident in his plan, assures her everything will be fine. To move forward, he needs the blueprints of the tunnels under the NASCAR track. He breaks into his old office to steal them and runs into his ex-boss, who apologizes for letting him go. During their chat, Jimmy learns the sinkhole work is nearly finished, meaning the crew will move to a new site soon. This puts a wrench in Jimmy's plan, forcing him to speed up the heist by a week, right before the Coca-Cola 600 race, the busiest event of the season. Despite the new challenges, Jimmy sticks with the plan. Melly gets everything rolling, and to figure out which vent connects to the vault, Fish and Sam release colored cockroaches into the NASCAR track, luring them with a birthday cake Melly and Jimmy sent to an employee. With everything ready, the day of the heist arrives, and precision is key. Joe and Clyde need to break out of prison first. During lunch, Joe fakes being sick, causing chaos in the canteen. He gets sent to the infirmary, where fluids from the floor make him need the bathroom. When the nurse insists on going with him, Joe refuses, and Clyde steps in to help. Meanwhile, in the canteen, a fight breaks out between two inmates, giving Joe and Clyde the distraction they need. The warden, too prideful to call for backup, locks down the facility, giving them the perfect chance to slip away unnoticed. They used the wooden exhaust covers they made to sneak out of the facility unnoticed. At the race, Fish and Sam whipped up an explosive device that took down all the card machines, forcing the stalls to go cash on. With a rush of cash coming in, the staff had to send the money through the PT tube straight to the vault. Meanwhile, Melly Logan showed up at the Miss Pretty West Virginia pageant with Bobby Joe and Sadie, ready for Sadie's big moment. After calming her nervous niece, Melly borrowed Bobby Joe's husband's shiny new Ford the 5th to play her part in the heist. She stopped by a gas station where the prison transport truck always makes a pit stop. There, she picked up a change of clothes for Clyde and an arm for him. The trio then headed to the Coca-Cola 600.
Is it this one?
Clyde and Joe Bang grabbed some beers and gummy bears before making their way to the sinkhole to meet up with Jimmy Logan. Clyde helped Joe climb into a garbage chute, leading him down to the sinkhole. Once there, Joe mixed bleach, gummy bears, and low-sodium salt to create an explosive, catching the Logan brothers off guard since they expected dynamite instead. Despite their skepticism, Joe showed off his creation, using one of their empty capsules to launch the explosive in tunnels. After a couple of hilarious failed attempts, the explosive finally worked and their plan kicked off. The blast did what it was supposed to, but smoke began billowing out of the tubes into the stalls. Jimmy quickly hooked up a big vacuum to suck up all the cash from the vault. In the chaos, Joe accidentally inhaled Clyde's prosthetic arm with the money. Clyde freaked out and started searching for his arm, worried the whole thing would come back to bite him. Jimmy reassured him and promised to retrieve the arm while continuing to fill trash bags with cash. Fish and Sam drove the cash bags to Jimmy's truck, but the gate blocking their exit wouldn't budge. After some time, Joe came out to see what was up and tried to force the gate open. Meanwhile, the smoke from the vault had spread to the stalls, prompting someone to report the situation to HQ. 2 guards were sent to investigate and bumped into Fish, Sam, and Jimmy, but they couldn't get any solid answers. They spotted smoke seeping from a door and cautiously pried it open, finding Earl, a friend of the Logan brothers, taking a smoke break. The guards, thinking the smoke was from Earl's cigarette, ordered him to put it out and return to work, abandoning their search. The Bang brothers had been struggling to open the door, but Jimmy showed up and claimed the lock was stuck, helping them get it open smoothly. Fish and Sam left the sinkhole, loaded Jimmy's truck with cash, and drove off. Back at the Coca-Cola 600, Max, the troublemaker from the bar, had a new NASCAR driver named Dayton White. Dayton was a straightforward guy who prioritized his health and avoided artificial fits. However, Max, who owned an energy drink company, forced Dayton to drink his product before the race. Despite Dayton's protests, Max reminded him about his contract. After taking a break from NASCAR, Dayton became very health conscious. The sugar in Max's drink sent him into a sugar rush, causing him to lose control of his car. He ended up spinning out and crashing into a barricade, dropping out of the race. After the crash, Max and Dayton had a heated argument about the contract. When Clyde and Joe walked by, Max recognized Clyde from the bar, and they ended up in a brawl, with Clyde breaking Max's nose. Meanwhile, Jimmy quietly slipped out of the race arena, ditching his cap and jacket to keep a low profile. He made sure the money was secure in his truck. Around the 200th lap, Norman and the other inmates, who had taken 4 police guards hostage and started a riot, set a fire in the canteen. This forced the proud warden to call the fire department. Clyde and Joe snuck into the prison dressed as firefighters, quickly changing back into their regular clothes to avoid raising suspicions. Melly showed up just in time to help Sadie get ready for her talent show. Sadie wanted her dad to be there, but Melly didn't know where he was. Sadie was set to sing Umbrella by Rihanna. As she looked out at the audience from the stage, she spotted her father. Seeing him made her emotional, and she started singing Country Roads, Jimmy's favorite song, bringing tears to his eyes. In a twist, he called in an anonymous tip to the police, informing them about the stolen NASCAR money. Sadie ended up winning the Miss Pretty West Virginia pageant. Meanwhile, the Charlotte Motor Speedway managed to recover most of the lost cash and claimed insurance for the rest. It looked like a win for everyone, except those who had worked hard on the heist. Once Clyde got out of prison, he moved in with his sister, Melly. The siblings cut ties with Jimmy, who relocated to be closer to his daughter. Joe was upset about the failed heist, and the FBI took over the investigation into the NASCAR money theft. Agent Sarah Grayson and her colleague checked out the vault for clues. Max contacted her, claiming he saw Clyde and Joe on race day. While he might have been right, Grayson dismissed his claims as personal revenge. She spent 6 months digging for evidence, but found nothing since the truck used in the heist was stolen. Although she suspected the Logan brothers, they had solid alibis. Eventually, CMS told Grayson to drop the case. Soon after, everyone involved in the heist, from Norman to Glyma to Joe, received a hefty payout. Sylvia got an envelope filled with cash as a donation for her medical facility. Recognizing the Band-Aid, sealing the envelope as Jimmy's touch, she and Jimmy started dating shortly after. The Logan brothers, Melly, Sylvia, and Joe were seen hanging out at Clyde's bar. Jimmy and Clyde chatted about how they moved a large amount of cash to a safe spot while reporting the rest to police. Melly had sneaked into the sinkhole while the Bang brothers were busy with the gate. Jimmy had put a lock on the gate to keep them occupied while Melly funneled cash bags into a disposal system, and Earl drove the truck to the drop-off. Interestingly, Jimmy's phone service was still active because the FBI was tapping his phone, despite him not paying his bill. Once his service was cut, he headed to the disposal site to retrieve the cash. As the crew enjoyed drinks and laughs, Special Agent Grayson watched from a distance, attempting to flirt with Clyde to gather more intel. She was convinced of her suspicions and decided to stick around a bit longer. And that's where the movie wraps up.